what questions do you guys have? I want to shed some light on how I would structure my database touch blueprint. I want to let you in on a tool I've been using, which is super simple, but has changed my entire life outside of ChatGPT. And what I go through today, you can use any model. I was using Claude. Does anybody prefer Claude over ChatGPT? More ChatGPT users? Yeah, I use ChatGPT for everything, but I started using Claude until it would, like, at the $20 a month plan, it would just stop me in mid conversation saying I ran out of credits. And I'm like deep in processing like major challenges in my family with like Claude. And it's like, you have to wait 3 hours. I'm like, I can't wait 3 hours. Like, this is happening in real time. Like, my daughter is struggling and I need your advice. But anyway, so I'm back to ChatGPT 100%. All right, all right, welcome, Kimberly. Just starting the EXP in the local team, so I'm excited to get set up. Awesome. All right, do me a favor, everyone on this call, just for Salim, anything specific you have your hand up for?
Quick question. Good afternoon, everybody. I have a friend, not a close friend, but kind of I know him, that he is willing to sell his house in Falls Church, Virginia. A quick idea, if you can give me that. He is not giving me an official exclusive right to sell, but he told me, if you bring a buyer, I will give you commission. But I told, because he didn't want me to list it in the public, MLS or Zillow or somewhere. He wanted me to bring a buyer off market. If you brought the buyer, I will give you commission. Otherwise, I'm not gonna list. I have 2-3 months to sell this house and move to Florida. So I brought 2 investors. They saw his house. They give offers. It was below the market. He is looking for a maximum dollar amount, that he is looking for $900. And the investors, they didn't give me offer more than $750. So what would be a best strategy or solution to?
Well, it's kind of like the analogy. So the script, how long you been in real estate?
I'm pretty much new. Last year,
yeah,
I closed it just one.
Yeah, so I don't know if he doesn't, it's sort of silly to think you're going to get max value. Well, I actually sold my home as a private exclusive with an agent that dominates our area. So she is connected, and, so that is not the case with you. You're probably not a dominant agent yet. You can't sort of rationalize like, yeah, let's list the home, but we could do a private exclusive if that's allowed in your market. He would be silly to think his home is going to sell for max value without getting it exposed to every buyer in the market. So I would process the word tracks that you would need to use with him via ChatGPT. I would just open up a chat and say, hey, listen, I need you to role play with me. This is my buddy's situation, and this is what happened. And what I would probably get some sound like what you're talking about when you go back to him and say, hey, listen, this is just silly. Like, yeah, I could get you 900 if it comps at 900, but we're going to have to get some marketing behind it. Because you're just not, you have no chance if we don't, let it out there to the hundreds of buyers that might be looking, or the interest I can generate if I have, agreement from you to spend some money and market the home.
Right. I told him the only way I can get you up to 900 or close to the price that you're looking for is to list it on MLS and other online platforms, to get the people that they want the house for their primary resident, not the investor. Investor, of course, they're looking to make a profit. So I brought 2 investors. He said, no, I don't like these people. Don't bring any investor here. Bring somebody who want to be a primary resident. I said, how I can bring that primary resident if I didn't list that, if I didn't market it? So kind of tough situation.
Yeah, I think it's a very unique situation. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's not a reasonable request. he's doing himself like if it was my best buddy, I would say, listen, I mean, you're literally doing yourself a massive disservice. Like you will leave money on the table if we don't properly market this home. End of discussion. If you're ready to do that, I can help you, but there's no way I'm going to get to work for someone that's not committed to me. It's sort of a ridiculous request. You're letting him tell you how, and I'm not saying you're actually doing this, but you're letting him tell you how real estate works. And you don't quite have the authority to be able to just tell him how it works because you're sort of newer potentially.
Yeah.
Another approach is to bring another agent in, and just do a co-list with another agent that's stronger, that sells a lot of home in that area in that price point, and just go in together and say, hey, listen, give me 30 minutes. I've got a business partner that I want to bring in to have a conversation with you about, how we can get you top dollar for this property, and just get an at bat with somebody that could probably, potentially do a better job positioning it with this guy.
Right. The location is really good behind a mosque, and it's a Ramadan. There are thousands of people coming there. He said, I don't want the crowd. If you list my property, hundreds of people will come and ask me how much you want to sell, all this stuff. He said, I don't want the crowd. I want to sell it hiddenly, like, off market. I said, off market, only investors is going to come.
Yeah, you still want to sign a listing agreement. So we have to move on because we can't get like super tactical on this call. Yeah. But you have to get him to sign a listing agreement. Even if you were to sell it off market, he still needs to commit to you to put in the legwork to do it. That's what I did with his agent. We've been off market for 5-6 weeks, and she brought 7 serious buyers through, and we got more than I ever thought we would get for this house.
Got it.
But you have to get him to commit for you to put in that legwork, because just get him to commit to you, and you can go talk to those, stand in front of his home. If the 100 buyers come through, you just get to interview them all, so otherwise that you can't waste your time with them.
All right. Thank you so much.
Awesome. For sure. Anthony, you got anything you want to cover? Any questions?
No, I'm just struggling right now with getting some of my listings sold. I've got 7 active right now and haven't been able to move anything. It's been frustrating.
Is it market or price? I mean, it's always price, but is it more price or sellers that are stubborn, or what?
Oh no, we've been reducing the prices on all of them fairly regularly. My sellers have been pretty open. Well, at least on the ones that, I figured a couple of them are land. One of them we actually got an offer in on, and the sellers are unreasonable. That one's probably going to expire out unsold. They won't adjust to market realities. But one of them, the one that I really need to sell, we just did a $20,000 price reduction, which was 5%, and that was just on Friday. So I'm just praying that we can get some interest in it.
Yeah.
So it's just been tough. I mean, winter's always a little bit slow. But I don't know. Spring's here, so I'm hoping things pick up.
I've always found we're actually sort of like semi-advising my wife's stepmom. Her husband, my wife's dad, passed away 4 or 5 months ago, and I talked to the agent, and it's always price.
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, you never want to leave money on the table, but it's always price. And I told her, so they're listed at like $3 million for, a horse property, and she advised 2.5 when they went to list it, but Kendall, my wife's dad, thought it was worth $3 million. He kind of thinks everything is worth, more than it is. And I asked her, I said, is 2.5 the price? I said, you get one price reduction. Like, is 2.5 the price that you can 100% sell this property? And she said 2.5 is the price. I asked her again, I said, you get one shot. You're not talking, technically through my wife, when the stepmom passes away, she has an interest in the estate, but, and she said 2.5 is the price. So my only advice is that a lot of times, let's say it was, you recommended 400, you guys agreed on 400, or they forget that they were stubborn and there was no data to support 400. And then you're like, you come back 2-3 months later and you're like, okay, let's go down to 375. But nobody freaking remembers that you told them 350 to begin with. And now they think they made this massive move, but they're just not taking your advice. And so you may think, or they may think, and you may actually think, I hope it sells because we went from 400 to 375, but you freaking know that it's only worth 350. So my only advice to anyone is just to not pull the punch. It's like, listen, Susie and Jack, we sat down 3 months ago and I said, I'm not going to lose your business based on you guys being stubborn on the initial asking price, but the market has spoken and it's not worth any more than 350, which is the price I told you prior. Going down to 375 achieves nothing. And then just let that land. And you may already be doing this, but this is more for everyone else. I've had I had no problem having super tough conversations with sellers because I could give two shits if their home sells. But I knew that I had to give them exactly what I was seeing in the market as someone that was not getting a commission if it sold. Like, this is just the way it is. Either you're going to own this property or you're going to do what it takes to sell it. I'm marketing it, you know, the same either way, and we'll relaunch the marketing at whatever price you give me. But let's not waste our time at 375. Let's do what needs to happen to respond to what the market's telling us. And otherwise, just own this home. I don't give a crap if you live in the home. It's not going to affect my life. You know, yeah, I'll lose some money on marketing and effort, you know, and I don't want to have an unsuccessful engagement with you guys. But I find that level of like language worked really well for me. But my personality is like, I could get two shits, you know, and I'm just going to advise you pretty straightforward. I remember this one time a guy was, he was going to die. He knew it. He had pancreatic cancer. And he was FSBO at like, I think 800. And his home was worth 540. And he's like, there's no way I'm listing it at the price. And I said, we have to list it at 540. He's like, I'm at 800. I said, you just told me you're going to die in a month or two. And you're going to leave this shit for your wife who was in the kitchen. This guy was like 85 years old and super traditional. She couldn't even be in the room when we talked about business. And I said, and he went to Harvard Business School and super successful guy, way more successful than me at the time. And I said, are you really gonna like waste the next 30 days at a price where there's literally no evidence for? Like, we have got to be at 540 and we'll get it under contract. It sold for 540 and it was worth 540. And I got it sold. Not an easy conversation. So anyway, I think people are paying you for that level of advice. You know, and a lot of times, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Anthony, but a lot of times we are skittish. They forget that we thought their pricing strategy was stupid to begin with, you know, and they're like, you're not doing anything to market the home. It's like, you picked a stupid price and I agreed to it, you know? So anyway, is that helpful?
Yeah. I mean, the one listing that I'm concerned about, you know, it's just, I know you hate saying unique properties, but it's not your normal sort of setup. There was only one decent comp and we came in at the same price and we just haven't been able to move. So yeah, it's just a rural area. Everything moves a little bit slower and it's tough to, and it's a manufactured home, which doesn't help either on 11 acres.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. I've got another listing where, you know, he was super insistent on the price and like, and it's way above where I think it should be. And I took it anyway with the understanding that it's a land listing. If in 30 days that it's not moving, that we do a very substantial price reduction down to the price where I think it should be. So, and I actually didn't even pay to do any marketing for it because I told them that I'm not going to at this price. Like, we didn't do professional photos is what I mean. But I don't know. It's an interesting one. We've actually gotten a fair amount of interest, but everyone's basically saying it's overpriced. So
yeah. Does everyone, has everyone seen the listing addendum? One of the most powerful, this is probably one of the most cool things. And then Tristan, I want to get to you. Let me share this here real quick. Can you guys see my screen? All right, this is in the drive. This is probably one of the cooler things, and it's super simple, and you could modify it. Very rarely did I get this section filled out. I would say maybe 1 out of 5 times, but every time it would allow me, and depending on the type of market we were in, I had as many as 30 days. There, I've had as little as 14 days in between the different prices. So I would say, Anthony, we're gonna, our initial asking price is gonna be 400. We can agree to disagree at this point. I see 350. All the data supports 350. I'm not gonna lose the opportunity to work with you guys because you want to test a price that there's no data for. But we have to respond swiftly because days on market is not our friend. And so where do you guys, every 21 days, we're going to adjust to the market. So let's start at 400 and they'll say, well, let's just see, whatever, but you're going to write in TBD, TBD, TBD. It sets the stage for a legit price improvement conversation every 14, 21 or 28 days or whatever. And you can put them in the calendar. You can make a thing of it. So that's really helpful. And then down here, and then we've got our transaction fee in there as well. This one was awesome. Overpriced listing. So, like I said, Anthony, we're going to agree to disagree on what you're seeing in the market, but I need you to recognize here that you're not taking my recommendation on pricing. Because Anthony, I've done this long enough. What's going to happen is you're going to come back and you're going to blame me for shitty marketing. And, that's not going to be the case. I know what I'm doing to market homes. When we get this in a range, and you would have showed them that bullseye, in your listing presentation, we even had that printed out so we can remind them of that. We're going to know how the market's going to respond to this 400 initial asking price. So go ahead and just initial here, so we're on the same page around you guys not taking my advice on list price. And that really set the stage for future conversations. That was really a helpful document. All right, Tristan, what do you got? Oop, Tristan just disappeared.
Oh, I was saying, go to Kim and Jim first, because I assume theirs is about the addendum you were just talking about.
All right, Kim.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would love something like that for a buyer's agreement. I've got an investor who is a first-time investor, and I have presented amazing properties, 2 properties in Athens, Georgia, that are currently income producing, and it doesn't matter what I have sent him. And I've even got a seller who is
He's not a serious investor then.
I'm like, is there anything else for me to say? Because otherwise I would take those properties.
Yeah. I would take those properties and email them out to your database, and then
that's exactly what I've done. Okay,
get someone else to buy them.
I'm taking one tomorrow. Amen. Thank you for that answer.
Yeah, for sure. Because then you could be like, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, 1 out of 50 properties properly now cash flows. There's nothing cash flows in my market. Maybe in the hood, Charlotte, right, you can get some Section 8, thing to cash flow $100 a month. But even those opportunities are few and far between.
Oh yeah, he's coming in. It's 80% of the asking. And I'm like,
yeah, I would just fire him. I wouldn't even waste your time. That's you play the game at a high enough level where it's literally do not waste your time.
Correct. All right. Thank you.
But that's just a good lesson. If you guys have any good deals in your market, email them out a summary without giving the address. Don't give the address away, but just describe the property. And if anyone's looking to invest, this is the requirements of this property. This cash flows. It's going to go pretty close to the asking price. If you're financially able, text me at this number, sort of thing. Jim, what do you got?
So, question about the addendum that you just went through. So, you're trying to win this listing, right? And so, how does that I understand coming from a place of strength and being the professional and understanding that. I really like the box where you're talking about the different days that we're going to go through. Are you finding when you get down to the signature spot that this is an overpriced listing? Is that inspiring people to go to the proper price, or is it just causing a little
No,
bit?
you probably at that point you like quote unquote lost the battle of initial asking price.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to, for whatever reason, if you're weak and you don't have authority and you didn't convince them that 350 was the right place to be, then this is after they've typically decided that you're the one.
Okay.
You know, so you're not like winning or losing the listing based on this. This is like you're filling out listing paperwork.
Yep. And this is for the next step going, hey, we talked about this. This is the house hasn't moved and we want to make these adjustments.
Yeah, because you're just going through, this is like after the listing agreement, you know, you're sign here, sign here, sign here. One more thing, we've got this listing addendum. It covers our transaction fee in a little bit more detail. You know, we talked about a pricing strategy in the listing presentation. You know, we're going to start at 400. I think it's a stupid idea, but we're going to do it anyway. And then let's talk about where we're going to adjust and the days in between. I recommend every 21 days we improve the price, so we can do 400, 375, 350. They may be like, whoa, we don't even know what the market's going to do. Okay, fine. Doesn't take away these price improvement conversations, but every 21 days, you'll hear from me every week, but every 3 weeks, we're going to have a sit down conversation and talk about what has to happen, you know, because price is a majorly important piece of the marketing that I do. You know, so you can kind of just work it in after you're like 95%. I don't think I ever lost a listing because I came in hot on that addendum.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep, for sure. Tristan, what do you got?
2 weeks ago, you're talking about creating like a logo brand around like a actual mailing out newsletter and then email newsletter. And you were going to do something like in Canva or explain how you're going to do that.
Yep, that's what I was just going to get into.
Dope.
For sure. All right, let's move on. Oscar, unless you have something to add, I want to move on a little bit to, oh, took his hand down. All right, good. That was one way to get his hand down. All right. Oscar, was it something related to this conversation, or are you good?
No, it was more, I'm doing a developer. I'm partnering with a builder, and we are meeting with the developer, and I just didn't know if anybody had like a presentation that they had done before that they partner with a builder to get in front of a developer for like a 5 to 10 property like subdivision type of thing.
Oscar,
really nice.
Send me an email at Lars@Agent Freedom Collective.
Okay.
There was a 10-minute talk when I ran a high level, my highest level. Tara Limbird in her Bentonville, Arkansas, gave a presentation on working with builders and how she was doing it, and it was small subdivisions. So
Awesome.
Just send me an email. I can't promise I'll find it, but if I can, I will send it over to you. But just send me a personal email.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, and I'll. Oh, Jim has a situation as well. Jim, go ahead and send me an email as well.
Will do.
Awesome. All right, so let's. How do I approach this with 23 minutes to go? All right. Has anyone heard of Whisper Flow, the app Whisper Flow? It is like the coolest freaking thing ever. It's like the most, it's WISPR Flow. It's like a very super intelligent voice to text system. So as I go through some of this, you'll kind of see how I use it. And but it's like I spend the first hour of the day kind of like just dumping my thoughts and my struggles and where I've slipped or what's stressing me out, and I kind of pray and Bible. I kind of go through Bible verses and everything, and it allows me, instead of like typing my 25 words per minute or whatever, I just hold a single key down and I just kind of like talk into ChatGPT, and then it recommends some scripture, and then I pray about it, and it's like the coolest thing ever. And I use it for everything, and it'll save you a massive amount of time. All right, let me go through Canva first, because I think that's a very quick one. And Tristan, I don't know that I would necessarily like build a brand necessarily. So meaning like, I don't know that you need to achieve like a complete, where the heck? Can you guys see my, okay, there we go. Because you kind of made the comment like, you know, like, so if I did this for digital, which I would probably do like a Monday motivation or like a Freedom Friday where I talk, or Financial Friday or whatever, I'd probably just have more fonts and maybe like an icon, not necessarily like a full-blown logo. And so let me show you what, Tristan, level 1 through 5. 5 is you're a master of Canva. 1, you're like total novice. Where are you?
Like a 1 for what you're about to do.
Okay. What do you think I'm about to do?
More than what
Okay. I don't know. I mean, if you have all these expectations, I don't know if I can live up. So what I would do is I would say print newsletter.
Also, what's your thought process behind no like big blown logo?
I don't think it's necessary for, let me see it. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this out of the way. All right, can you guys see my Canva?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me give you an example. Why is it not templates? Not templates. There we go. Okay. So do you have a logo for what is it? The Tristan Advantage?
No, sir.
Okay. So what would I do if I needed a logo? Because that's like a separate conversation, but this is literally what I would do in terms of like picking a newsletter. I would probably literally start right here. And I would just do a search, print newsletter for real estate. And I would pick a look and feel that I liked. And I would start there. One other option. Have you guys, anyone used Danny Atkinson 320 group? No, he does. And Tristan, it may be just as easy to reach out to Danny. He like on the super cheap, like he has been planting a church like for about 20 years since I've known the guy. He's got to live on nothing because he charges hardly anything for his services. He managed our newsletter for a while. So did you see the couple templates we have in the drive, Tristan, for newsletters?
No, sir.
Okay. So
I watched all the videos that you sent me. Is it the guy that like runs the newsletters for like Kirby, I think? Or maybe Kirby has it in-house, but like somebody was promoting some guy that runs newsletters. Was it him?
Yeah, I mean it could be him, but I mean a lot of our top teams have used Danny in the past, and he still does that sort of work. But if it were me, I'd probably just go in here and I'd pick so this is a print newsletter. I probably customize this template, or whatever. So it's not very difficult to do. Or I just go to Drive and I go newsletter. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So let's see what we got in here. I know we have PDFs. LDRET. What the heck is this?
And can you finish explaining your thoughts around not needing like a full blown brand or like not looking into it or whatever?
Well, it's not that you don't need it. What's a good example? In this case, the newsletter itself would be the brand.
Mm.
So like, of course they know it's coming from you, but it would be like like my Monday morning mojo, that would be the thing, by Lars Hedenborg. but I want them to associate the value I'm providing as like every Monday I send out something, you know, that they can sip on their coffee and they can get inspired. And it's just a simple email. And it's usually something personal development related, or a book that I'm reading, or a YouTube video that I consumed, or some sort of thought I'm struggling with that I've processed in some kind of way. So we don't necessarily, we want to be the purveyor of value and like actual valuable content versus anything else. Every time I've created a logo, I've just used logo tournament. I probably don't know that I would do that at this point. You can, someone made the comment, you can go logo designs. You could just as easily go into Canva, and I just wouldn't overthink it. You know what I mean? Like spend, because it doesn't, you don't have one now, and you sell more real estate than most of the people on this call. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
So if I were you, I would probably.
Is this one of those things where like I could literally just make something really fast and just for the sake of having it, and then stick with it for the rest of my, you know, career until it changes again? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, or you can change it and just never make a big deal about it. Like people move brokerages and they want to make this announcement and have a party, and like it doesn't matter. Like literally it doesn't matter. If I change brokerage, if I made you change brokerages 3 times in the next year, I would say don't even let it impact anything you do daily and your branding at all. You know, you're just going to change out the state requirement for your brokerage everywhere you transact and nothing else. You have a unique enough name, you know, where I like the Tristan advantage. Tristan is a unique name. So getting content from you over email or a print newsletter is more important than any logo you can come up with. Yeah. So as little, if you can get someone else to do it for you, and Danny does logos too, it's Danny@the320group.com. Just get through it quickly and don't, it's not going to have any impact on your business, even a little bit.
Danny, DANNY at 3.
Yep, that's right.
At the 320 group, or just 320 group?
I think, let me see. I think it's the320group.com.
And then also, do you have any, do you care at all about like I noticed that you stick to like blue colors. Do you have any like psychological
no
perspective? It doesn't matter.
If you ask my wife, like everything I own is blue, she's like, enough with the blue already, like wear a different color, you know. So I just like blue. You know, yeah, you could ask, you can process that all with ChatGPT. I would just pick what you like. I like EXP's color palette. So if I were you, I would, you know, when I went away from Real Estate B School and into Agent Freedom Collective, I literally, because it's in Canva, already preloaded, I would just use the color palette that's already in Canva. And you can just Google EXP brand guide. And if anyone like asks you what your brand colors are, just use EXP's brand guide, the same typeset. I would just use it exactly, because that's just one less thing you need to go down. I mean, there are agents that will spend 10 grand by hiring a designer to come up with a brand guide and a logo, and like I would just adopt everything that's in Canva already from EXP, download their brand guide, adopt all of it for all of your stuff, and be done with it as quickly as possible. Go in Canva and choose something that looks good enough that you can edit with Tristan Advantage or your name, Tristan Adams, and be done with it. Yes, quickly as possible, because between what you do when you sit down to generate business and the fact that you're adding in database and potentially digital footprint, you know, expanding your digital footprint, you're going to be able to scale that to 50, 60, 75, 100 homes per year with leverage. All right. Let me see if I can find, here we go, print newsletter. Yeah, this was pretty much how our newsletter, I still get this newsletter from This is still how our newsletter looks for the most part. You can go into the drive and just search newsletter. And this is pretty much what it looks like. So this would be your logo. So technically your logo would be in here where Real Estate B School is, but this would be just like real estate, you know, Western PA Real Estate Weekly or Monday Morning Mojo, or we call her the high performance edge or something that played off of our. I would probably give that more thought, the name of your newsletter, than anything else. And I love print newsletters. I think it's amazing. But this is pretty much exactly what we put together. And it's just it's literally an 11 by 17 printed in color. So folded and folded in the back. And this is a pretty standard 4-page newsletter format. And your address and your postage goes here.
And I notice all the text is in Latin. Should I make mine the same?
Yep, just make it in Latin where you can't understand anything that's written. And see if anyone reads it. Be like, hey, Tristan, you didn't change anything on it. All right.
Hey, Tristan, there's a service that the U.S. Postal Office has. You just go onto their website, go under business, and it's called Every Door Delivered. And you can have them you can drop it off to them. I'm doing the postcards, and instead of my postcards costing 60 to 70 cents a piece for postage, it's like 23 cents, and they drop it off to each one in particular routes, and you just look up those routes online. I'll send you a link if that's
doing it. So the caveat there is that he's doing it to the database, so that wouldn't apply. So this will be like, you know, 250 or 50 or whatever names across the entire metro versus like, you know, picking different, you know, postal routes or whatever. But either way, it's a worthy, you know, it's kind of like someone asked the question, was that you, Anthony, that asked a question about Client Giant? They've got the keep in touch $10 a month, you know, so the example I gave there was if you're
We can't hear you if you're trying to talk to us.
the speaker changed when somebody called in. So let's say your database, you know, so Tristan builds out his database, takes him a year, he gets to 250 people that legit know, like, and trust him. There's probably only 50 in there that I would put on a Client Giant or a quarterly physical gift mailed to them. And the 250 may or may not even receive a newsletter monthly. You know, so there's like segmenting of the database. If it were me, you could probably get these out with postage. I think we had them for we printed them internally. And I think it was like under $1, but we had like a couple of thousand in the, you know, in the Inner Circle database. So yeah, I guess I could easily argue if the 250 is clean, the print newsletter goes to the 250. But there's probably 20% that you go through and you AAA, you know, someone who's an actual raving fan that is influential or they referred business to you would get the Client Giant. And the Client Giant legit works. It's not branded, but these are like $40 gifts that are basically you're paying $25 because they're sending out the same gift to everyone that's enrolled in that program. So they're bulk buying some nicer gifts. And these are like stuff that they will absolutely use, that they'll associate you with, but there's not this like ugly. I apologize to anyone that sends out like football magnets, but that's just such a blatant like advertising ploy, you know, that people can generally see through that. Although, I mean, I guess it's fine, but we lean toward the Client Giant type gifts.
I have a quick, just give me a quick yes or no. And by the way, I'm actually selling a house right now with the agent's fridge magnet on there. So like
That's awesome.
I've also I remember sitting down at a listing appointment with the agent's postcard literally on the table as we're signing listing agreements. So like I don't okay, so Outer Circle email drips, 36 touch, like calls plus notes, Inner Circle newsletters, and then the A+ is like pop buys lunch and coffee.
Well, It's for everyone to decide. So let's use the 250 example. I think it's 60 touch. So I don't think the 36 or the 33 touch gets you there. I think it's one value touch per week for sure. So, and then I think giveaways are amazing, and that'll kind of increase the touch, to over 60. But yeah, so I think all of the 250 get the print newsletter. They all get invited to the giveaways. They all get the quarterly phone calls. They all get whatever weekly Monday morning mojo or, all of that. I'd probably go way more than 60. A lot of this stuff is not being opened.
Well, I guess you call it I just print out the thing. You call it 36 touch, but it does also say like 52 social posts, 12 bomb. Like, so maybe it does end up being 60. I just called it this. And so then
that document is from Dave Hook, the guy that started Rooted. So that's part of that is like their system that they run. But I would just go for a, like, in your mind, one super value touch every week. So if you're sending out the newsletter to everyone in the 250, that would count as 12. And then you're sending out, let's say, a Monday morning mojo. That would count for 52. I would send out a weekly value email for sure. And then I would layer in the print newsletter. I would layer in a quarterly gift for the 50. I would do probably 4 to 6 giveaways sponsored by lenders, and all of it will double back onto social. So I don't even know what the totals of that are, but that's probably enough. I wouldn't do expensive client events. I would do like smaller, you get the same credit, I think, for like a dump or donate event or a paper shredding event or, one of the, hosting like an open house for the neighborhood type thing.
Okay, so tactical then. So the outer circle, quote unquote, is like just email. The 60 touch or 30 like that is like the top 250. The inner circle are like the people who have actually maybe referred me some business.
Yep.
And then A plus are the people, it's like the 80-20 principle, like they are sending me the most business.
The 50, I probably wouldn't have it broken down. I know I mentioned that, but I probably have like, I don't care what the 250 is. If they saw you in a supermarket and they recognize you and you'd be like, oh, hey, Tristan, it could be 200, it could be 500, whatever that number is, that's your inner circle database, massively valuable. Then you probably go through that database and like, okay, so Kim actually referred business to me and she's like super connected in like PTA. She's a soccer mom. She knows freaking everybody. So that is someone that gets the quarterly gifts. That's someone, if I had like 10 people over to my house, and a part personal, but part she'd be invited over to my house. So you could make as many segments as you need to, but you just want more people like him in that example. And then you're always filtering the 250. You're always looking for the people that are actually doing the thing that you want them to do. And if they don't, after like 2 or 3 years in your touch system, then you could just release them. To Jessica Wade, she releases people from the 250 and then she replaces them. And she's always testing them against like, okay, do they value the stuff that I'm sending them? And the value is like, am I top of mind? Are they referring business to me?
Fire.
Make sense?
Yep. That makes total sense. I think that lays it out better than the Rooted, the way you just.
Yeah, he's a KW guy, and he systemized all of it as an offering for people that use Rooted. But this is where I think it gets fun. Like next week, I will legit go into my ChatGPT and I'm going to process all of this. Here's the test though. Don't send crap out. I don't care if it's every other week. I think it needs to get to 1 per week. I would even argue a couple times per week. But it has to be good. Like, so make sure whatever you're doing is good stuff. Does anybody follow Dan Koe, Koe? He put out a piece recently. I'll go through it next week, where his goal weekly is to put together one decently researched, like valuable piece of content. And then he writes, he's a writer, so he writes it, he records a video, and then he uses that long form turns into short form. So that's something like, depending on, I'm not a great writer, so I probably would do the more, I'd have a topic. I would say, right now it would have to be, politics aside, what does Iran look like for real estate? That probably can last until, what does Cuba crisis look like for real estate? What does whatever next shit comes up? You can ride all of that stuff pretty awesomely and just like use it as a backdrop for you to be valuable. And that's what, like, if you guys follow Meet Kevin, he's like a finance YouTuber. It's just interesting to see, like, he goes live essentially every day and just comments on what's going on and how it's affecting the markets. So like part of what I would do to increase my value with not just my 250 core database, but the 2,500 to 5,000 to 10,000, expanding my digital footprint would be like, yeah, Tristan is the guy that does a screen share that's weekly and it's super meaningful. And he has a perspective on how like what's happening in Iran is literally affecting our little town here that we live in. Interest rates or days on market, or like, you got to figure out your angle with respect to whatever that looks like. Or it could have nothing to do with that. That's what mine would look like. Yours might be, yeah, I'm a soccer mom, and this is what's going on with kids, and being married and having whatever, and bringing all that into everything. I think I told you guys the example of single mom, poor as could be, gets into real estate and documents her journey from day one, and sold, like, within 3 years or something, sold like 400 homes. And she was just like, hey, this is my journey, like it or not. I'm not hiding anything about, like, you can see my kid is here with me on a showing. We're doing an open house, got a poopy diaper over there, whatever the journey looks like. I think people are more drawn to that than anything else, and I think we try to hide. And I think that approach is going to be it might be even survival going forward, being honest and not competing with like polished, AI generated content or clones, or, that stuff's just going to get better, but nobody's going to talk about poopy diapers at an open house. There's no AI ever that's going to say that's a good idea. But I promise you, people are going to tune in to see if the diaper's cleaned, or did it get on the floors, or did it, like, did you get an offer on the property that day? Or so whatever that looks like for you, I think this is the only thing about content and the weekly flow of content, that it's going to be the most fun thing in your business. When you follow a few people that are putting out content that resonates with you, and you use them as models to like how you're going to create content in a way that's like, I can totally do this once a week. I can time block 60 minutes. I can just do my thing, and it's going to look a little different for everybody.